Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of 7:30 Cup of Tech. It's great having you here. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. I'm calling this episode Tables, Clearing, Embedding, right under your nose this entire time. One of the things we seem to forget about occasionally when we're introducing or working with technology with our students in the classroom is that we kind of tend to forget we always have to start with the lowest possible skill level in our classroom. So we need to cover our bases with those students who have the most trouble, because we know the ones who are on the upper end of using technology, they really pretty much have a good grasp on catching on to things with technology. So kind of look at those students who maybe have the most problem, and then you're able to introduce and build your curriculum with technology, and everybody will understand it. So in this episode, I'm going to be going over 3 different items that are really they've been there this whole entire time. So let me just share my screen with you here, and here we go. So what we're going to be doing is, I'll start it up here. There we, oh, jeepers, and then your best laid plans don't always work the way you want them to. Isn't that the way it goes? What we're going to be doing in this episode is we're going to be working with Microsoft Word tables. We're going to be learning about clearing your cache memory, and we're going to be kind of going over embedding videos. Now, it's kind of been interesting, this whole experience working with these 3 items, because a lot of people do ask me about these, or I'll mention them as a possible fix for something, and they've never used those before. So I'm kind of going, these are really 3 important areas that we can go over, because if we as teachers are having problems with these, we know we're going to have students who have a few issues also. So the first one is working with Word tables. A lot of people try to be able to go into a document and they're hitting their space bar, they're hitting their tab, they're trying to make columns and do all those things, which it kind of works. The only problem is whenever you add something more to it, it shifts everything that you've been working on. So you can use Word tables really, really effectively in your classroom. So let me just show you here what you can do. First of all, if you open up Word, Word is one of the most common programs that we use for putting tables into. And all you need to do is go up to Insert, and you see you have Table. Go over to Tables. Now, I always like to add an odd number of tables, and I'll show you why in just a second. So let me just go up here. I'm going to add 5 columns going across. The rows really don't matter. It's the columns that are the most important. So I'm just going to grab a few of these and click and put those in. Now, let's say that you want to enter some data into that column, and you'll put some data into this column, and you'll have some data that falls into this column. Now, you're probably wondering, why in the world are you leaving extra columns here? Well, the reason for that is because if you hover over those lines, you'll get double pointed arrows, and you can left click on those. You can close this gap up in between here. Now, while this doesn't look too overly spectacular like this, here's the reason why I always add those extra columns in. When you come up in the upper left corner, you have the quad arrows up there. When you click on that, and you go over to your borders and choose no border, now I have 3 columns. And what's really nice about this is I've created the breathing room between columns so they don't slam together. Now, there is a thing called padding that you could use for that, but it can be a little cumbersome when this is so easy to be able to do. Now, all of those columns, everything is still all right there. See, when I hover, I can still bring up the 2 pointed arrows, and I could drag some of those over if I want to inside there. You just find them and you can drag them around. But now you have that total flexibility inside here where you can come up and you can adjust all of these. You can do the alignment options if you'd like. You can do any of those things. You can put images inside of those cells that you have. And then if you say, well, you know, I'd really like to bring those back again, just click back on the quad arrow, come up on the top, and you can just choose your borders again. And there you go. You have that. You can get rid of your rows if you want to. If you just hover over, click, and then if you right click, it says delete cells. I'm going to delete the entire row. And there it's gone. So you have that flexibility. Tables are in most of the programs where you can do text editing. So It's Learning has a table feature inside of it. Your website has a table feature. They all work kind of about the same. So that's something that just kind of file that away as a solution for you and your students when you're putting things together and you want to be able to put them into columns like this to help prove whatever point you want to be able to prove. We also have clearing cache. Now, what cache memory is on your computer is every time you go to a website, every single time you go, it saves some memory from that site on your computer. And what happens is over time, it will build up and it'll slow down your computer. Many of you've probably heard, if you've ever called and said things are running slow on your computer, and we'll say, have you cleared your cache? Or you can clear the cache so that sometimes websites can leave little residue inside your memory that you don't want to have there because it'll keep remembering a mistake if you ever go to a site. And if you have those mistakes in there, you might try to keep going onto a site and it'll keep giving you the same error, error, error. If you clear your cache memory and go, you'll probably be able to get onto the site. So it's really simple to clear that cache memory. So what you do is I'm going to show you inside of Chrome right here. When you're in Chrome, you just go up to these three little dots in the upper right corner, click on those three dots, hover over the word history. In the window that pops up to the left, click on the word history. Then over on the far left, click clear browsing data. And then in the window that opens, you want to choose the advanced tab and deselect everything that's on the page except for cached images and files. Leave that one checked right there and then click clear data. Now, if you haven't done this before or you haven't done it in a while, it can actually take a few minutes to do. It depends on how much cached memory is being stored there. I had just done it not too awfully long ago, and I try to keep mine clear because it really does start to bog down your computer, slow it down. And like I said before, you can have some remnants, some residue from other sites that will just keep logging as you're having an error. So this is a good way to get rid of those type items. On our schools computers, when they shut down at night and restart, a lot of times that will end up clearing itself. Your own personal computer, that definitely won't happen. You need to go in there and clear that cached memory. So it's so simple to do that you just, you kind of want to make sure that you're doing that because it really does help with your computer. So you get that, everything's going to be good. Now, another item that we have is embedding video. So many times we always want to link over to a video. And while linking to a video can be a really good thing to be able to do, it means that your students have to leave the page that they're on and go someplace else, when it can be so nice that you just stay in the same location. If you're building your one-to-one classroom, or you have an It's Learning resource that you want the students to be able to be in, embedding is definitely the way to go. Let me show you how you embed. I'm going to come over here, and the first thing that you have is, let me use one of my 730 cup of text. YouTube is really easy to get the embed codes from. And what you do is you just go to a YouTube video, you go down underneath share, you find share, and you'll see embed. Now, Many video sites already have this available. You just have to find where Embed happens to be. Stream has it, and it's called Embed in there also. So what we do is we click on Embed, and we have this code that pops up. We just want to copy that code. You can highlight it and copy at the same time. So now we have that code highlighted, copied. We've gotten that all taken care of. So now let's just go to It's Learning. And I'm going to go to my resources. Now, I could open any of these and I could embed that video on any of these pages, but I'm going to start fresh with it. So I'm going to add a page into It's Learning. And here it comes. When it opens up, I'm going to add a content block, and I'm just going to make it my rich content. So that's the most common one that we end up using. Now, you don't want to paste directly into here. What you want to do is you do have the option where you can have an embed, where you can embed code right here. You can also go to source if you would like, and either one of those you just paste. I did a Control V, and you can paste that code in here. Now, on its own with this is great. This will look just fine. It'll be the same size as what the YouTube video is. If you'd like to go for a little bit, making it a bigger experience for your students, right up here in the code where it says width, you can change that to 100% and then change the height. It can be whatever height it is. I'm just going to go 600 right now with it. Now what happens when I click OK? Notice my video now takes up this entire portion of the screen. That's fantastic because you can see everything that's going to be on that video. And then you just remember, don't forget that you can rename the page. You can do all those things you usually would do with our LMS. But now, isn't this nice? Because now I can click on this, I can play it. The students have it right here. They're not having to leave It's Learning to go anywhere. It's all right on the page. The same thing can happen on your web page. If you're designing your web page, you can do this exact same thing on there. Then you can create information and have that there. Embedding is something that a lot of people just don't do, and it's so simple to do that it's kind of surprising that it just kind of flies under the radar, and people just never ever really see that. So embedding video, not a bad thing to do. Once you've gotten used to it, you actually kind of go, wow, that was really super simple. So if you have any thoughts or you have any questions, now's a good time for us to be able to get to those. So let me get out of my PowerPoint that I have right here, and I'm just going to bring these down. So we're back into so we can come on back over into our session that we have right here. If there's anybody who has anything they'd like to share, please feel free to do so right now. I would really appreciate if you did. But I don't think that we all do, and that's okay. At 7:30 in the morning is awfully early, so hopefully you take advantage of these and that in the recording that I have. And I thank all those people who did watch last time when we were in these too. That I really do appreciate that you were so willing to be here for those. Please check out the hub. Go underneath the teacher resources. It's right up at the top of the page, the resources for the parents, the teachers, the students, and you can access information there that will definitely help you in your classroom. So thank you to anybody who happened to be attending today or watching this. Please feel free. I'm trying to do it about every Thursday morning, and we'll have our chat always going, so you can always ask me questions live right through here if you'd like to also. So thanks everybody for attending. You take care, and I'll see you in another episode of 7:30 Cup of Tech. Have a great rest of your week. Bye everybody.